faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
With those words, a historic moment in America. Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to become vice president.
I wish my grandmother could have been here to see this, or my grandfather, because these were things that they only dreamed about.
A dream deferred too long. A dream now within reach of young girls who aspire to new heights.
When I think about my nieces and the youngest ones being only 11 and then watching this, it says to them that there's nothing they can't do.
Inspiring the future while celebrating the past on this edition of Let's Talk Cincy.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
New York Congresswoman Yvette Clarke said, "We must never forget that Black history is American history. The achievements of African Americans have contributed to our nation's greatness." Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Fuller, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. We celebrate this Black History Month following the historic swearing in of Vice President Harris. Her achievement is yet another milestone on a long journey for equality. Black History Month started out as Negro History Week back in 1926 by historian Carter G. Woodson. A week in February was selected to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Black History Month was first proposed by Black educators and students up at Kent State University in 1969. The first celebration took place at Kent State the following year, and then 6 years later, Black History Month was celebrated nationwide. Well, this year, folks are celebrating Kamala Harris, the first woman, the first African American and first Asian American Vice President of the United States. Today, we'll listen to many voices marking this historic moment. America's new Vice President, Kamala Harris, says she's making history because of the women who came before her.
I think it's that feeling when watching this inauguration, that feeling of you wish those that came before you were here to see this as well. I wish my grandmother could have been here to see this, or my grandfather, because these were things that they only dreamed about.
Dr. Ashley Jordan is the Senior Director of Development at the Freedom Center. And like the Vice President, she is a graduate of the historically Black college, Howard University. And the pearls in pink and green you see show, like Harris, she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
The legacy is what is so inspiring to me, because just those principles of sisterhood and scholarship and the empowerment for others, not just for yourself, but for mankind. People like Vice President Kamala Harris just embodies that to another level.
Newly elected Hamilton County Commissioner Alicia Reese, another HBCU grad, says this makes every little girl's possibilities endless.
When I think about my nieces and the youngest ones being only 11 and then watching this, it says to them that there's nothing they can't do. Of course, you can verbally say it, but for kids to see the image of Kamala Harris raising her right hand as vice president, it tells them that there's nothing they can't do.
Just like Vice President Kamala Harris had stated in her inauguration address during that time, she said that she hopes that she's not the last. And we just hope that this day continues to usher in this new wave of women of all shapes and sizes, colors, religious backgrounds, sexual orientation, because now is the time.
To me, honestly, it just signifies hope.
I am just proud. You know that I come from a lineage of entrepreneurs, of trailblazers.
Meet Tina Macon and her 25-year-old daughter, Catherine, sharing their thoughts about America's new Vice President, Kamala Harris.
My mother, Mary Catherine Allison, she was a trailblazer, and she would be so happy today to see this come to fruition.
We spoke with Tina, her mom, and Catherine when Barack Obama made history.
I think she would say to Vice President Harris, don't forget to help someone else, train the children so we can continue to have future leaders that look like us in the pipeline. So don't forget to reach back and bring them along side of you as you were going through this. So, you know, she was a big proponent of that, as well as was my father, Frank Allison. But yeah, she would tell her, teach them and bring them along, build them and put them out there for opportunities to be seen and heard.
Today, Tina and her daughters say there seems to be more of an urgency with this moment.
We've had interesting 4 years, to say the least. There was a lot of darkness that went on during that time. So today really is a symbol of hope for me. More and good opportunities will be coming.
And I just hope that as a country, we can heal, that we begin to listen to each other and come together to do what we're supposed to do as people, as Christians, as women. For me, this is acknowledgement and recognition for African American women being major contributors in this country. For so long, we have created, we have developed, we have trained, only to be skipped over, not recognized and minimized. So today, the world is witnessing a woman that has prepared, she has contributed, and she's being recognized as a leader, not just here in the United States, but in the world. And she's going to be a major player in unifying our country. And I'm just proud.
Vice President Harris says she's never been a fan of the word can't. Instead, she says, dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourself in a way others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. Well, up next, the story of one attorney dreaming with ambition, teaching politics by way of a children's book, when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Now I want to share with you an inspiring story about a young man who overcame many obstacles growing up right here in Cincinnati to become the first person in his family to graduate from college and become an attorney. And now he's the author of a children's book about the importance of voting.
You know, I saw a lot of crime and violence growing up, and I went through some of my own troubles growing up. You know, I started at Warner Hills. I was kicked out of Warner Hills. I ended up graduating from Hughes. And then I ended up being the first in my family to graduate from college. I ended up going to Ohio University. Then I went to Troy University in Alabama and got a master's degree. Then I went to Western Michigan University and I got my law degree.
And is it because of what you experienced, that's why you wanted to be an attorney?
A lot of the things I saw growing up really drove me to want to be a change agent. When I finished law school, I worked in Atlanta City Council for 2 years. I was chief of staff for District 5 down in Atlanta. Then I became a prosecutor in 2013, and I did that for 7 years. And I actually ran for Fulton County District Attorney last year in Atlanta. I was the youngest candidate in the race, the least known. I had the least amount of money, but I ended up getting 25% of the vote, which it turned out to be about 40,000 votes.
Let's fast forward to the book. I mean, tell me a little bit about the book, how this idea even came about.
Long story short, I connected with music mogul Shaka Zulu in Atlanta, and he gave me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to LA with him to meet Clarence Avant. Clarence Avant is known as the Black Godfather. There's a special about him on Netflix. You know, he was very influential in President Jimmy Carter's campaign, President Bill Clinton's campaign, President Barack Obama's campaign, and now Vice President Kamala Harris. And so having the opportunity to spend some time and be mentored by, you know, the great Clarence Avant, just really planted a seed in me to figure out a way to use my voice and what I started in my last campaign moving forward about just spreading this message and getting more younger people involved in politics. So it planted the seed to create a kid's book, a children's book. When a book starts, it's Grandpa Wise and his 2 grandkids, Chris and Key. They're about to have breakfast, and Grandpa is super excited, and he's telling his grandkids that, hey, today is a special day. We get to use our superpower today. And the grandkids are they're thinking about traditional superheroes, and they're asking their granddad, what superpower do we have? And he explains to them that it's the right to vote. So it's a really fun and short read, and it's also interactive. At the end of the book, there's a blank voter registration card in there for the kids to fill out. The kids get to cast a ballot for their favorite color. There's also a little bit of homework. There are, I think, 2 or 3 questions in there for the kids to fill out from what they read in the book. And then they get a certificate once they finish. And growing up in Cincinnati, not seeing so many folks who look like me in elected positions. I can remember when you ran for mayor when I was in high school, and, and looking back, things like that inspired me. And seeing what Vice President Harris was able to accomplish, I have 3 daughters, and, my daughters are going to grow up seeing a woman who looks like them in the second highest office in our land.
What an interesting story, huh? Christian said his brother Willie and his 14-year-old niece Destiny were the illustrators for his book. Well, up next, young voices weighing in on this historic moment and the accomplishment of Vice President Harris, plus the poem heard around the world when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Welcome back, everyone. This year's inauguration was a first for more than Vice President Harris. It was the debut of the nation's first poet laureate, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman. Gorman has become an inspiration in her own right since appearing on the national stage. As Brandy Cummings tells us, the people who know her best knew she was destined for greatness.
Emotionally, oh my goodness. It was, it's very difficult to explain.
Hard to put into words the feeling while watching your 22-year-old granddaughter on the national stage at a historic presidential inauguration.
We, the successors of a country.
I always knew that she could do this. When the opportunity presented, I knew that she could do it. I was just filled with pride for my family, for her friends, and for her.
The significance of the moment not lost on Bertha Gorman. You see, she grew up in the segregated South. Her father had little formal education, but made sure his children knew just how important it was.
This day is very impactful because it's so historic. To be with the first Black woman of color who has been elected as the Vice President of the United States. That is historic. And for her to be a part of that is beyond fantastic.
Bertha told me Amanda's accomplishment doesn't surprise her.
Where can we find light in this never-ending shade?
She's a Harvard graduate and published author, a path her grandmother says was expected.
She's doing what she was sent here to do.
It was during Amanda's performance at the Library of Congress when First Lady Jill Biden saw her and made sure the young poet would be part of the inauguration ceremony.
We've learned that quiet isn't always peace.
With jewelry gifted from Oprah Winfrey, Amanda boldly took her place in history and even gave notice of her own future plans to one day be president.
We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one.
It really was a special moment. Vice President Harris hopes to inspire Generation X and beyond. I had a chance to talk with some students involved in a local program with the Queen City Foundation called RAISE, Raising African American Awareness in Schools and Social Environments.
And as I've said before, while I may be the first woman to serve as vice president, I will not be the last. So to all of the young people watching this, dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves as future leaders, as the very best of our country, because that is who you are.
Tell me the significance of the election of Kamala Harris to you.
To see a person of color, especially a woman, to break down that stereotype was very inspirational for me, as I would like to go into politics as well. So I feel as her being able to be the first person of color to hold that seat was inspiring for me.
It's great representation for people of color and women, and for young people everywhere to show that pretty much anyone can do it.
That's giving young girls who are POC representation as well in a field that is mainly predominantly white men. So yeah, it's like significant to younger girls seeing someone in a high power position.
And she sent the message that everyone can do everything. So yeah, if you put your mind to it.
First, we had the first Black president, Barack Obama, and now we have the first Black and first Asian American and first female Vice President, Kamala Harris. So to see those within the same almost like 10-year period is amazing. So it just shows that anybody can do it.
If you were sitting down with Vice President Kamala Harris, what would you tell her are the most important things for your generation?
I would ask her how our generation's voices could be heard and make a change, because I feel like our generation, especially over the summer, we could see this happening, but we're really stepping up and speaking and having voices for the voiceless. So I feel like a question to ask would be like, how are our voices being heard and how could we make a change?
One key important thing is how do we achieve peace as a people, and not as an African American collective of people, but as a human society of people. How do we achieve peace, and how would she plan on reversing socioeconomical problems and issues put on minorities over all these years, and how would she plan on reversing that? And I would also just ask her how she plans on making sure people's voices are heard all the time.
Great perspective, huh? Social justice, equality, and gun safety were some of the issues the students said were important to them. And in addition to Vice President Harris, the students told me some of their other heroes include Barack Obama, Malcolm X, Dr. King, Langston Hughes, and they also included their parents. Up next, a special conversation with one of my heroes. She's sharing her thoughts about our new vice president when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Well, as I thought about this show, I thought about one of the first persons I called the day of the inauguration. That was my daughter, Nicole. You see, she is a graduate of a historically black college, and she did her undergraduate studies at Spelman College. She is also a member of a sorority, part of the Divine Nine. She is now a doctor of physical therapy down in Atlanta, and I thought it would be interesting to share with you her thoughts about this history-making moment for Kamala Harris.
This is a huge step forward in what seemed like a challenging time with race relations in the past year. So to me, it looks like I can more visualize and actualize who I am as a woman in positions of authority and leadership. I've been just very humbled and blessed to be around such amazing women. And I learn from them all the time, constantly, of just seeing like, oh man, look at how you're doing this. And wow, I haven't seen a woman in this role, and not just a Black woman. I haven't seen a woman in this role. And how can I learn from you in that? And I think, again, it's actualizing and seeing yourself represented there, because it takes a very powerful image for a person to create when they don't have any mirror images. So I think for, Vice President Harris to be in that position and visualize that for herself, actualize that for herself as she went through all the steps over her lifetime and in this past couple years through the election, and really believe that still was built on the foundation of Shirley Chisholm, deciding, decades ago to first run for president. And that was like, whoa, you can't run for president. You're a woman and you're a Black woman, that was unthinkable. And so it takes each step that we take, it kind of furthers that perspective of what we can be and who we can be, and that there aren't boundaries. The only boundaries are those that we've created in our head, and those are just stories we're telling ourselves. And the more we see that, the more we can kind of break down some of those boundaries we've imposed upon ourselves, or society has kind of allowed us to support.
If you could underscore again the significance of this hour in our history, that here you have a woman who is elected vice president of the United States. We can say that over and over and over, and how powerful that is, and a difference that will make for the rest of your lifetime, the rest of my lifetime, just from this one moment.
I try to, beforehand, even as the campaign was going on, I just kept underscoring for myself, like, we're just around 100 years from the suffrage movement. We are less than 60 years from the civil rights movement, where both women and African Americans didn't even have the right to vote, to participate in something of this magnitude. So being on the ballot alone was a huge step. And like I said, I mentioned that with Shirley Chisholm, and that's why I keep drawing back to her. But then you think about, wow, this is someone who kind of broke all those barriers that have been in place for centuries in our country, that in this election has just single-handedly changed the context of what that picture can look like. For any woman, for any person of color. Something historic just happened. Let's celebrate. And what are we going to do to keep moving forward in history?
And as Nicole talked about breaking barriers, another first. A professor at New York University School of Law has become the first Black person in the 101-year-old history of the ACLU to be elected president. Her name is Deborah Archer. Well, that does it for the show today, but we want to hear from you. Email us your ideas at ltc@WLWT.com. You can always watch full episodes or get more information on WLWT.com. Also, listen to Let's Talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, that does it for the program today. Hope to see you next week for another edition of Let's Talk Cincy.